All right, your final exam is coming up, and we are going to get you ready. We're going to break down everything you absolutely have to know so you can walk into that test feeling totally confident. Let's do this. Okay, so here's our game plan. We're going to start with the foundation, which is anatomy. Then we'll get into your toolkit, the products and systems you'll be using, your techniques, and finally, we'll wrap it all up with the client experience. All right, section 1, the body's foundation. We're talking anatomy. You really can't be a pro if you don't understand the canvas you're working on. And for your final exam, that means you've got to know the bones of the hand. Let's get into it. Okay, first up is the carpus. Now, this is one of those words you just have to memorize. The carpus is the wrist. Simple as that. It's that flexible joint made up of 8 little irregular bones, all held together. But for your test, the main thing to remember is carpus equals wrist. Lock that in. Okay, moving on from the wrist, or the carpus, we get to the metacarpus. What is that? It's the palm. It's those 5 bones that connect the wrist to your fingers. Think of it as the bridge. So for your exam, when you see metacarpus, you're going to think palm. Easy, right?
And that brings us to the phalanges. This one's probably the easiest one to remember. The phalanges are just the bones in your fingers and toes. Your digits. So let's run through it one more time, just to make sure it sticks. Carpus, wrist. Metacarpus, palm. Phalanges, digits. See, you totally got this.
Okay, let's talk muscle tissue. This is a big one for the exam. You've got 2 types here, striated and non-striated. The difference is actually pretty simple. Striated muscles, you control them. They're voluntary. Think about picking up your e-file. You decided to do that. Non-striated muscles, they're on autopilot. They're involuntary. You don't have to tell your stomach to digest your lunch, right? It just does it. So for the test, just remember, striated is voluntary, you control it. Non-striated is involuntary, it works on its own. Okay, section 2, the nail tech's toolkit. So we've covered the body, now let's get into the tools you'll be using on it. We're going to get really specific here, especially when it comes to something you'll use all the time, your e-file bits. Okay, this chart right here, this is exam gold. Seriously, you're going to want to know this stuff inside and out. It's all about how they work. Diamond bits, they chip away at the surface. Now, carbide bits are different. They have these little blades, or flutes, that shave the surface. That's a huge difference, and it's why they make less dust. See the distinction? Chipping versus shaving. Then you've got silicone bits, which are kind of like a pencil eraser. They're for shining things up. And finally, pedicure bits, which are designed specifically for tough, calloused skin. You really need to have these differences down. All right, here's a big question. And I can almost guarantee you're going to see this on your exam, because it's a massive safety issue. So, sanding bands. Are they safe for the natural nail? Just think about it for a second. What do you think? And the answer is a huge, absolute no. Please, please, please burn this into your brain for the exam and for your entire career. Sanding bands should never be used on the natural nail. Period. Why? Well, they can cause a ton of heat and damage, they kick up so much fine dust, and this is a big one, they're single use. You can't disinfect them. This isn't just a suggestion, it's a non-negotiable safety rule. Okay. Section 3, products and systems. We've got the anatomy down. We've talked about the tools. Now let's get into the chemistry of what we're actually putting on the nail. And we're going to start with a really fundamental product, nail resins. So nail resins, you're going to see a big kind of scary word associated with these, and you have to know it for the test. It's cyanoacrylate, but don't let it freak you out. All you need to know is that it's basically a really strong, fast-acting glue. Think of it like a specialized superglue for nails. That's the stuff that gives these products their strength. And while we're on the topic of resins, you're going to hear the word viscosity. Again, don't let the fancy word trip you up. Viscosity just means thickness. That's it. High viscosity, it's thick. Low viscosity, it's thin and running. Viscosity equals thickness. Simple. All right, now let's talk about wraps. With these, the #1 thing you need to remember is the weave. For a silk wrap, your keyword for the exam is tight. It has a tight weave. Because it's woven so tightly, when you put resin on it, it becomes almost transparent and gives you this really smooth, natural look. So remember, silk is tight. Okay, so if silk is tight, what's fiberglass? It's the opposite. It has a loose weave. It's more like a mesh. And because that weave is loose, the resin can really sink in deep, which creates a super strong bond. So let's lock it in for the final exam. Silk is a tight weave, fiberglass is a loose weave. All right, moving on to section 4, techniques and enhancements. So we know our products now, but how do we use them? We're going to focus on how to build the perfect nail structure because trust me, structure is absolutely everything.
This slide is so important for your exam. You need to understand the relationship between these two things. Think of it like this. The stress area is the problem. It's that weak spot where the nail grows past the finger, and it's where breaks always happen, right? So what's the solution? The apex. The apex is the highest point you build in the center of the nail, and its whole job is to add strength right over that weak stress area. They go hand in hand. You build the apex to protect the stress area.
Okay, here's a number you just got to memorize, no way around it. If the exam asks you what the average C curve is in a typical salon setting, the answer is 35%. That's it. Just burn that number into your brain, 35%. And why is that C curve so important? It's not just to make the nail look pretty. It's all about strength. This quote explains it perfectly. Think about the curve of a bridge or an egg. That shape gives it structural integrity, right? It's the same thing with a nail. The C curve helps distribute pressure, so the nail doesn't just snap. All right, massage movements. You will be tested on these, so you need to know the names. There are 4 core movements. First, you have effleurage. Think elegant, long, gliding strokes. You usually start and end with this one. Next is petrissage. That's the kneading, lifting, squeezing part. Then there's tappement. Think tap. It's that rapid tapping or striking motion. And finally, friction, which is when you press one layer of tissue and move it over another. You got to know those 4 by name for the exam. Okay, last section, the client experience. This is where it all comes together. We've talked about all the technical stuff, but now let's apply it to a real client sitting in your chair. We're going to talk safety, service, and being a pro. Listen, knowing how to do a perfect set of nails is great, but knowing when you shouldn't do something, that's what makes you a true professional. This is all about client safety, which is always your number one job. For the exam, you absolutely have to know these contraindications. For example, you avoid massage on clients with severe, uncontrolled hypertension. And paraffin wax? That's a no-go for clients with circulation problems or skin irritations unless they have a doctor's note. Knowing when to say no is just as important as knowing how to polish. Being a pro also means managing your time. Nobody wants to be the nail tech who is always running late, right? So this is a super practical breakdown of a 1-hour pedicure. Look at the timing. You've got to get that consultation done and have your client's feet in the water within the first 12 minutes. If you can stick to a schedule like this, you can give an amazing service without stressing out and running behind. This is the kind of practical stuff they'll want to see you know. So we've covered a ton, right? From the bones in the hand, to the difference in drill bits, to products and procedures. You have all the technical knowledge now. But here's what I really want you to take away from all this. This isn't just a bunch of facts to memorize for a test. All this science, this is your foundation. Knowing this stuff is what gives you the confidence to stop just following steps and start being a real artist. So take a deep breath. You know this stuff. Go in there and crush that exam. You've totally got this. Good luck.